before he ruled a nation, before gold chains rested on his shoulders, before kings bowed in respect. He was thrown into a pit, not by strangers, not by enemies, but by his own brothers. The desert wind carried their laughter as they walked away, leaving him alone in the darkness. The sun burned above, but inside that pit it was cold. Cold with betrayal, cold with rejection, and maybe cold with fear. How does a boy go from favored son to forgotten slave? How does someone chosen by God end up in chains? This is the story of Joseph, a story of dreams, of jealousy, of prison, of power. But more than that, it is a story about what God is doing when your life makes no sense. Because sometimes the pit is not the end of your story. Sometimes it is the beginning. Joseph was not an ordinary boy. He was his father's favorite, the son born in his old age. And his father gave him a coat unlike any other. Bright, beautiful, distinct. But that coat became a symbol of favor, and a symbol of jealousy. Joseph also carried something else, dreams. Not ordinary dreams, but visions so powerful they felt alive. In one dream, sheaves of grain bowed down to his. In another, the sun, moon, and stars bowed before him. When he told his brothers, they did not celebrate. They resented him. To them, Joseph was arrogant, spoiled, too confident. But what they did not understand was this. Joseph did not create the dream. God gave it. Sometimes God shows you your future before your present looks anything like it. Joseph saw greatness, but he had no idea how much pain stood between him and that promise. One day, Joseph's father sent him to check on his brothers. He went in obedience, but when his brothers saw him coming in the distance, they saw something else. They saw the dreamer, and they hated what he represented. They stripped him of his coat. They threw him into a pit, and they sat down to eat as if nothing had happened. Imagine the silence inside that hole, the dust, the confusion. Then came a decision that would change everything. Instead of killing him, they sold him for silver. Joseph, the favored son, was dragged away in chains, sold into slavery in Egypt. He did nothing wrong, yet his life collapsed in a single afternoon. But here is the truth. Even when people betray you, God has not abandoned you. The pit was not an accident. It was a transition. In Egypt, Joseph was bought by a powerful official named Potiphar. And even as a slave, Joseph worked with excellence. Everything he touched prospered because God was with him. But success brought attention, and attention brought temptation. Potiphar's wife falsely accused him, and in a moment, Joseph went from trusted servant to prisoner. Again, another fall, another injustice. Yet even in prison, Joseph did not become bitter. He served, he led, he interpreted dreams for fellow prisoners. Character is built in hidden places. No one applauded Joseph in prison. No one rewarded his integrity. But God was shaping a leader. In silence. Years later, Pharaoh had troubling dreams. No one could interpret them. Then someone remembered Joseph, the forgotten prisoner. He was brought before Pharaoh, cleaned, shaved, and standing in a palace he never imagined entering. Pharaoh described his dreams. 7 years of abundance. 7 years of famine. Joseph spoke calmly. The interpretation belongs to God. He explained the coming crisis and the solution. Pharaoh was stunned. In a single day, Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister of Egypt. Chains were replaced with gold. The pit had led to the palace. When God elevates you, it can happen suddenly, but it is never sudden to him. He had been preparing Joseph all along. The famine came, and people from many lands came to Egypt for food, including Joseph's brothers. They stood before him, not recognizing the man they once sold, and they bowed. The dream had come true. Joseph had power. He could have taken revenge. He could have humiliated them. But instead, He wept. He revealed himself. And he spoke words that still echo through history. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Joseph understood something powerful. The betrayal was part of the blessing. The prison was part of the promotion. The pain was part of the purpose. And sometimes, what breaks you is building you. Joseph's story reminds us of something we often forget. God is still working, even when we are hurting. The pit did not destroy him. The prison did not define him. And the palace did not change his heart. If you are in a season that feels unfair, if you are waiting, if you are wondering why your life looks nothing like the promise, remember Joseph, because your story is not finished yet. And sometimes, what feels like the end is only the beginning of something greater. If this story encouraged you, subscribe for more powerful Bible stories told in a cinematic way. And share this with someone who needs hope today. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe. Every week, we bring powerful Bible stories to life. Stories of faith, struggle, redemption, and hope. And maybe the next story will be exactly what you need. Subscribe, and let's grow in faith together.